there just isn't another place where you get the chance to connect with this many people this focused on moving the industry forward. It was a really cool reminder of how hard so many people are working from all over the world, all different perspectives, in all different parts of the value chain and the process, and just the whole picture of insurance are trying to move us forward.
I'm Brian Falchuk, and this is The Future of Insurance, recorded live from the floor of ITC Vegas 2025.
Good morning from the final day of ITC. Before I fly out, I always like to put some thoughts together of, what did I take away? What did I see going on? And it's pretty hard to escape the power of AI, right? That is the theme. Past years we've had a few themes popping, but pretty much everything was AI, and specifically we're starting to get into Gen AI, and there's been a democratization and proliferation of access to different models, foundational models, that is really enabling a new generation of solutions, and they're starting to come to market. Some of them have already been there, but it's really spreading. So the number of solution providers and discussions that were centered around what AI enables is huge. Of course, that also meant there's a lot of talk of the future of all of the jobs in insurance and what does that mean? And the one word that really stood out is empowerment. That is what most people were talking about, not how do we do away with staff, but how do we recognize the fact that we don't have enough people, they are overworked, and no matter how great they are, there's so many things that they can't catch, or because they're burning out on the sort of process and procedural kind of stuff, their minds are not free enough and are too overburdened to really catch the stuff that the nuance, the critical thinking of human capabilities could do if it had a place to offload a lot of that mental burden. So definitely strong AI theme. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. Maybe the difference is, historically, everyone talked about AI, maybe put AI in their name, or instead of .com, they were .ai. And a lot of it was maybe vaporware or marketing. And I think we are starting to turn that tide. A lot of the AI discussions were, quite honestly, really valid. Now, that doesn't mean that the solutions work or that they're proven or, there aren't a lot of pitfalls, because for many of them, it's still early days. And so you see a difference in those who are maybe having a bit too much hubris, or they haven't been able to put the proof in the pudding, versus others who are like, this is the way that we're progressing, and we're going to start with this area and start to expand and grow as the knowledge and the capability of the tools grows. And that's both on the solution provider side, but also on the user or the carrier side or the broker, or, whoever it might be that would adopt that AI technology. They're also seeing, where can we fit this in so that we can prove it out in a safe way, get our folks used to it, understand operationally how we would coexist and integrate this into the way we do business so we can genuinely get the real benefit out of it. So I wouldn't say it's like overly cautious, but it was careful, and people were looking at what are thoughtful ways we can implement. And that also means you saw a lot more, I would say, sort of point specific or point solutions being discussed. What's on the horizon as we talk about agentic AI is broader brush applications. And there was absolutely discussion about that. This sort of notion that you could just offload the work to an AI agent and it would figure out all of the things that need to be done. And there are solutions that can do that already. Now, whether they do it well or not, you each have to figure that out for yourselves. But I've seen some in action. It is pretty impressive. In action, in a demo, in a pilot is not necessarily the same thing as in production. And that's where, we should test, we should try, we should experiment, we should start to put these things in and see how they can help, but also make sure that we're paying attention to the details. Now, last night I got to go to the Guidewire InsurePitch event. I was lucky enough to be one of the judges, so thank you to Laura Drabick and the team at Guidewire for giving me the honor, but honestly the privilege to get to be there for that event. Great discussion with folks, great pitches from 5 really excellent insurtechs that I was really impressed with how well they used the 5 minutes that they were given it. And I will give them all shout outs. Not a single person hit that buzzer. They were all 4 and change minutes. And that's actually one of the biggest problems I've seen with pitches is people's ability to tell a succinct, engaging version of what they do. And so shout out to all 5 of them for nailing that piece of it. But what really struck me is, as a claims person, I've spent the last 10 years of my career in insurance focused on claims in particular. And as the CEO of PLRB, we are a primarily claims and coverage focused trade organization supporting the industry. So claims is what I live. There was a moment for claims in COVID where there was this rush of activity and investment because, quite frankly, you have to keep operating claims. You can slow down new business production. You can slow down some other areas of your business where we were really challenged, especially in the earliest days of COVID, when suddenly everyone was, not able to come into work, or the ways that we work were stressed and tested. You can't decide to slow down the handling of claims, or, we're only going to take 20% of the first notice of loss that comes in because we can't handle more than that. Well, you don't get that right. And you can turn away new business. You cannot be as responsive to it. Now, you'll lose out on opportunities, but you can throttle that up and down in a way you can't with claims. So earliest days of COVID especially, you saw this rash of investment in claims-specific InsureTech solutions. More for the insureds to do self-inspection and kind of self-handling of the claim, or to enable the remote handling by a claims professional at the carrier or one of their service partners. But then things went quiet as the world reopened. Investment went into other areas, and while claims got this really nice surge after, quite frankly, being underinvested in procedurally and tools-wise for a number of years, we lagged. What I saw here was like a renewed interest and a renewed support in claims. Now, it wasn't to say everything I saw was about claims or it was the biggest story, but I noticed the energy around it. And to be fair, maybe it's my perspective because I'm coming at things with that kind of claims mindset, so I'm seeing it more. But I'll use the InsurePitch event from Guidewire last night as a specific example. I said there were 5 InsureTechs that pitched. 4 of the 5 were claim solutions. So obviously that could be a selection bias, like maybe Guidewire was picking claims-focused things, but they had a lot of submissions, and this theme of claim stories was popping. Now, to get selected, you have to be, providing real value, telling a really good story. You have to have a quality pitch, and you have to be able to show the impact you're having. So the fact that 80% of those who made the competition were in the claim space says something to me about the state of where claim-specific solutions, technology, et cetera, is at right here, right now. And that was, selfishly, because I care about claims, but really great to see. Now, unselfishly, claims is like the central product that we're ultimately delivering, and it's what the customer's living when that promise of insurance really comes to the forefront. So to see that renewed interest and that focus on claims was awesome. I really appreciated that. The last thing that strikes me, being here in Vegas, and I'm not a Vegas person, it's a weird place for an insurance event. And the reason why I say that is, it makes sense, it's big, and there's a ton of networking, it's great, but at the same time, the number of people who seem uncomfortable here, that I wasn't alone. But what strikes me is Las Vegas as a city, and specifically the hotels here, the casinos here, really operate on, from my perception, one of a way of taking advantage of the customer. It's really, how do we get the most out of our customer, not necessarily thinking about what's best for them or the best experience for them. So I noticed the maintenance level of a lot of venues leaves something to be desired. I noticed that the pricing of everything leaves a lot to be desired. There's just all of these moments of, we can get away with this, so we're going to, and you have no other option. And that's really pervasive across not just the hotels, but everything that goes on here. This is, bar none, the most expensive place I ever go, and I travel a lot, and I've been to a lot of the most expensive cities in the world. Many of you will know I've been to Sydney twice this year, and that's known for being so expensive. Vegas is a whole other level of expensive, and it feels like manipulative and taking advantage. And the reason why I bring this up is, I think every industry, insurance included, really needs to remember about the customer experience and what we put our customers through. Now, customers could be your insurance customers, the actual insureds. It could be your partners, your distribution partners. It could be the claimants, like whatever it is that's on the receiving end of what you're doing. So often we have ways that we work that are antiquated or difficult or full of friction. And when we see the pain that causes, we just justify it. And this is something I've talked about for a long time. I got to give a talk with ClearSpeed at their Trust Faster Summit on Tuesday. And one of the points that I made was around customer experience and whether you are giving a customer experience that if you were on the receiving end, you would feel it's unacceptable. And that's that is the way I feel about the customer experience in Las Vegas. And so it's interesting to be at an event where there's so many customer experience focused tools to make that experience better and easier and smoother and more efficient and all the good stuff in a place where it's kind of the opposite. So that wasn't lost on me. I'm not trying to throw shade on Vegas. I know a lot of people love it here. There's many of us who don't, but it's more this sort of general idea that you're in a place where the notion of getting away with it is pervasive. And I want our industry to do the opposite of that. So instead of taking in that feeling that's around you, I would hope that everyone was here was at least aware of it and recognizing, yeah, that's not okay, that's not good, we shouldn't be that way. So maybe ultimately it's a good thing to be here because it's so blatant that it throws it in your face. It's like, wow, it's not okay for your customers to be put in that position. We should remember that. It doesn't feel good. So I will leave it there. Another huge event, big event. I will say it felt busier than it has in the past. And part of that was the Tuesday, the day before the expo opens, usually is lighter. It was jam-packed. And it was all networking. Like, yeah, there were a bunch of different events. As I mentioned, I spoke at one of them, but it was really, really packed with networking, which is awesome. Honestly, that's the main reason I come to ITC. Last year, I was stuck in a podcasting booth the entire time. I got some great interviews and I appreciated that, but I felt like I missed the whole event. This year, I cut that in half, which is great. I still feel like I didn't get enough networking time, but the truth is, I don't think you ever can. There just isn't another place where you get the chance to connect with this many people, this focused on moving the industry forward. And I love that, right? Like that's my lifeblood. That's what gives me my most energy in this space. And it was a really cool reminder of how hard so many people are working from all over the world, all different perspectives, in all different parts of the value chain and the process and just the whole picture of insurance are trying to move us forward. So with that, I will say goodbye. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. And hey, maybe you make it to ITC Vegas in the future. Maybe this was part of that inspiration. Maybe you've come this year and you're like, wow, Brian, I had a totally different take. Share it with me, right? I'd love to hear the comments from you and feedback. Give your perspective. What are you seeing? What do you think's popping? What do you think was missing? We all have different experiences when we come to these things, so I'm curious to hear what everyone else thinks. Thanks, everybody. Make sure that you share this around because it keeps the conversation going. Thank you.